Good evening, Facebook family. My name is Kendia. I wanted to go ahead and take the time to finally participate in the Single Saved and Serious Challenge. I said I would do it weeks ago, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So there were three questions that Brandon Chuck Brown asked, and it was, what role does God play um, while single, saved, and serious? What does single, saved, and serious mean to me? And what were my expectations, or what are my expectations while dating, while single, saved, and serious? Since this challenge, before this challenge, I actually got married, but I still wanted to participate because I'm still freshly married. So I literally just left singleness, and these are very valid questions. Um, so the first question was, what role does God play in your serious while you're single, saved, and serious? That's a tongue twister. And for me, God played my father, and that is, I guess, to be expected. But I didn't realize until a few years ago that I actually had a lot of unresolved daddy issues. So what I did was I sought God to be my father. I sought God to have the relationship that I wanted to have, or I desired to have, with my dad. I sought that out with God. I let him love on me. I let his word talk to me. I let his word rear and teach me over these last few years. So he played the role of my father. And for everybody in different seasons, excuse me, I just ate. In different seasons of their life, he's going to be something different for you. And for me, he was my father. Like, that's just it. So I had a season where when I posted, when I did things, I would always say, Dad, I would hashtag it Daddy's Girl, because that's what I felt I was. And that's what I feel we all as women need to be, when it comes to a degree, when it comes to our father. So God played the role of my father while I was single, saved, and serious. Second question was, what does single, saved, and serious mean to me? And this is very important and close to me because a lot of people got offended when I became single, saved, and serious, because I was single, but I was saved, but that doesn't mean I was acting saved, and it doesn't mean that I was serious. So, um, it meant cutting any and everybody off who were not successful in the areas that I desired to make changes and be successful in my own personal life. Does that make sense? So if I even had a friend or a family member or just a close associate who maybe they were single, but they weren't doing single like I wanted to do single, or they weren't being single how I know God showed me I needed to be single, I had to cut you off. If you were married and you weren't upholding the principles that God showed me I have to hold up when I become married, you couldn't be an example for me. And even when I did, because I had started talking to my now husband, and I wanted to start to hang out with other people, because I was like, you know what, I don't want to consume all of my time with this guy, so let me find other things to do, because I found other things to do while I was by myself and nobody was in the picture. But now let me find something else to do. Let me go hang out with this person, and then you can't do that because everybody that says that they're single and walking for Christ and living for Christ and they want a Christ-like relationship, are not doing all of the necessary steps to get there. So I wanted to be for real this time about my walk when it came to relationship, because I knew that God was going to use me. So I chose to not be disrespectful, but I chose to cut some friends, some associates, and some family members completely off because I was committed to obtaining the fragrance of Christ in my life, in my spirit, in my attitude, in my actions, in everything. And honestly, I couldn't even give an answer to the people who were offended because it just wasn't time for me to answer you as to why I decided to fall back from you. Wasn't trying to be mean, wasn't trying to be disrespectful, wasn't trying to be rude, but we just weren't walking the same single walk. And that's just that, because I know we weren't, because when I would talk to certain people about even the process I was going through with my husband, um a lot of people would say it don't take all of that. God know your heart. No, but for what I was trying to do and what I did, it was absolutely necessary. So that's what single, saved, and serious meant to me. It meant putting myself in a box with just me and God, or just me and God, and whoever was that muse for me. Okay. The third question was, what are your expectations while dating single, saved, and serious? I'm gonna sound real cliche, but my expectations were the expectations that God had for me. So I knew that shacking up was inappropriate. I knew that sex before marriage was inappropriate. Granted, I had 2 children prior to this whole scenario, but one thing I realized, and I'll deal with manipulation later, but one thing I realized is it didn't matter to God because of his grace. It didn't matter when I decided to stop having premarital sex. What mattered was that I chose to do it. And it didn't matter that, because a lot of, just a little, let me just slide this in here to women that may be watching, and you're getting wrapped back up with men because they're saying, oh, well, you already have kids. Why you want to not give me any? One, it's my business to do whatever it is I do with my body. But two, I no longer allow the spirit of manipulation to say, oh, well, you already have to, so what's the difference now? There's a huge difference. And you'll notice the difference even when you get married if you wait and you hold it out. Okay? So I'll deal with that in detail at another time. So his expectations became my expectations. Everything he expected of me, that's what I wanted to walk out. And when it came to the men that approached me, my expectations were the ones that he had biblically. Like, do they love themselves? And women, we have to really pay attention to this, because how people love themselves is how they're going to love you. So if you're talking to someone and they have anger issues or whatever the issue is that they have, you have to really ask yourself, does this person love themselves? And if they do not, I don't want you to even question this. If they do not, and you can see that their actions show that they have no care or no love or no self-respect for themselves, then run, because he don't know how to properly care or love you, period. But then also my expectations while dating single, saved, and serious were not just those biblical principles, which I just touched on a few of them, but it was also the instructions that God gave me on a daily basis. For an example, when I met my husband, he intrigued me a little bit. when I met DJ, he intrigued me, but I didn't let him know that. I still was like, okay, I'm focusing on myself. I'm doing this, da 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 da. And I never told him, hey, I'm feeling you, I like you, I whatever. I kept all of it to myself. And when we actually started to like do lunch and stuff together, and I started to get to know him, I would literally, instead of telling him, hey, I really like your conversation, or I think you're a cool person, I would hold all of that in, and I would get home, and this gonna sound real crazy, but I would get home, and as soon as I would open my door, I'd be like, you know what, God, this is how I feel. I never share my personal feelings with him or my emotions with him until we actually started to court. And that didn't happen until over a year later. Because one, it wasn't his business. Two, I'm learning you, you're learning me, and I don't want to leave any room again for anyone to manipulate how I feel about them so that they can get out of me what they want. So I kept all of that hidden. I talked to God about my emotions, my feelings. And if he told me not to go somewhere that day with him, I didn't go. If when God told me, when he let me know he was interested in me, excuse me, when he let me know that he was interested in me, and God said, don't do dinner, go to lunch, don't go to his house, meet out in public places, no, y'all ain't watching no movies. Like all of those things, those were some of the expectations of me. And while I was dating, single, saved, and serious, that is what my basis was. I had to listen to the spirit that God, the Holy Spirit that God placed inside of me, because I wanted the results that he showed me, because God is a promise keeper. So if we have promises that are not being fulfilled, I would argue to say it has nothing to do with God. It's all us. You got to ask yourself, am I doing what God tells me to do on a daily basis? Even if it says you walk over a piece of trash and your spirit tells you to pick up that piece of trash, do you walk by it or do you pick it up? It's simple things like that that play into the expectations. And that part has nothing to do with relationship. But if God can't trust you to pick up that napkin that you about to cross over, how can he trust you to go into your war room or go into prayer when you do get married? Because the spirit gonna talk to you like that. So I just wanted to be brief. So hopefully I answered all of those questions. Hopefully that encouraged someone. And I look forward to just seeing everyone else's posts. And I actually want to challenge one person. I want to challenge Megan Bright to do a single, saved, and serious challenge. Okay? You all have a great night. I'm on my way to Bible study at Next Level Ministries at 1212 Commercial Drive. Y'all can join me over there at any time. Good night.